Best of R / Entitled Parents episode 177. Subscribe for edit videos daily. So I was riding my bike. It was downhill, so I was going fast and I enjoy the speed. Then this kid comes out of nowhere and throws a rock at me, causing me to almost crash into a tree. My ribs hurt like crazy. I tell the kid, who is like 7, not to do that, and he goes fuck off, faggot. I'm really taken back, so I just decide to go, and his mom used instant transmission, used 50 mana, and just suddenly appears in my face going, what the fuck do you think you're doing? He did you molest and shout at my kid? I'm just sitting here like, what the actual fuck? So I go, sorry, I was just ab. How dare you speak to your elders like that, fuck you. So I just ride away. When I got home I had a huge bruise and put an ice pack on it. Sorry for anticlimactic story, but I am bored, so yay. Thank you. Next. So this happened when I was 8 or 9, so details are a bit fuzzy. A bit of backstory. I had this girl in my class, complete asshole. Would bully people constantly, and the only one who liked her was her best friend. She was one of those smug girls who wished to be a fashion designer. She had a little sister in my brother's class. This girl was a mini-me of her, and the only difference was that she had an eccentric name. I won't say it for her privacy, but people would make fun of it. Cast, me, yours truly, Egg 1, the older entitled girl, Egg 2, younger entitled girl, LB, little brother Karen. They're mega me. So it had been a relatively normal day of school, and I get out of my mom's car to pick up my brother. I go inside and see him, crying in a corner. I ask what happened, and he tells me that they had been bullying him, and when he defended himself, like an 7-year-old would've, the younger girl started crying and told a teacher that he hit them both. I see the two assholes and start yelling at them and find a nearby teacher to inform what happened. So as I'm walking with my brother to the car, this short woman, wearing leopard print and the biggest pair of sunglasses I had ever seen, walks up behind us and does the well-known Karen EHM. I, angry at this point, turn around and say, what? Karen, tell your mother to teach you some manners or I'll do it myself. Me, well, when you and your goblins learn some, sure, I'll tell her. And this woman's mouth fell to the ground so hard it cracked the crust of the earth. And if looks could kill, I wouldn't be writing this story here. I know it's a bit anticlimactic, but for the 9-year-old me who parents wanted their kids to be like, it was big. Thank you. Next. Hey guys. I'm back with another story of my teaching years. You all seem to love them and I have plenty to share. So here we go. ED, entitled Dad. ES, entitled Student. OP, me. Backstory. This was pretty early in my teaching career. As I have said before, I loved teaching kindergarten, but I have taught all the way to 6th grade. Although my degree is in elementary education, I have taught music theory before for older grades because I can play piano, and the district asked me to switch over to music for that year. ES was in 6th grade and was one of the hardest older students I had ever worked with. He would speak out loud and make jokes for everyone to laugh at, and was generally rude and disrespectful to me and other students. Older students are all about respect and trust, which is to be built. He was in detention consistently. I was getting students ready for their Christmas concert. This is important for schools because not only does it showcase the students, but it can also bring in much needed money through raffles and snacks or baked goods, etc. I had decided to do auditions for musical solo parts for students. During the class time, I announced we would be having auditions later that week for specific parts. ES starts making jokes and goofing in class like usual. OP, are you ready? Because it seems like you are not ready. ES, oh yeah, I'm ready. Ready for Santa Claus loving, as he makes a humping motion, to which the class laughed. OP, no thanks, the behavior choice is not acceptable. Do you need to visit the admin's office today? ES, no. OP, okay, well, I want to see that reflected in your choices then. ES, I don't have to listen to you. You're just the music teacher, not a real teacher. OP, excuse me? ES, you heard me. That's when I sent him to the admin. Now, at this point it wasn't an entitlement issue but more of a disrespect issue. Then the next part of this story happened which blew my mind. Later that day I happened to see ES, who sheepishly asks me if he can audition for the solo part for the concert. I asked him if he really wanted to and was serious about the part. He said he was and really wanted to try. So I decided to give him a chance and let him audition. I want students to succeed. When audition day came, he stepped up in front of everyone and started singing "I Like Big Butts and I Cannot Lie" while displaying more of his air thrusts and some air hand swaps against an invisible butt. My patience had been running low with his behaviors in class, and finally I told him to go to the admin office. I then announced the solo winners later that day and went on with my classes, etc. The next day ED requested a meeting with me and his son to discuss some very bothersome news. ED, I am here because my son has informed me that you do not want him to get a solo part in the Christmas concert. OP, he has to audition for a part. If he auditioned, he may have had a chance to get a part. ED, he told me he did audition and you didn't give it to him? OP, actually he didn't audition. He just got up and sang "I Like Big Butts." ED, that's a song, isn't it? OP, well yes it is, but it's not appropriate for a Christmas concert audition. I had 2 of the solo pieces handed out for students to use because those were the parts that were open. ED, so what? Now you're the person in charge of saying what is okay and what is not. That is censorship, and I will not have my son, who's the best singer here, lose a solo because you feel the need to censor him. He deserves that part. OP, I'm sorry but I have already chosen the parts for other students. He could have had a chance if he actually auditioned. Also, it is my job make sure he is not distracting the class or making them uncomfortable. If his behavior does that, then he will get sent out. ED, how dare you treat my son this way? No wonder he hates music class. I am taking this to the admin. Luckily, this admin was very well aware of the student's behavior, considering he was always in her office from other teachers as well as myself. After telling her what happened, she said this parent was making trips to the school at least twice a month to demand that we treat his son better. I let him audition again because I was asked to, but he didn't come to the audition time. He said he didn't care anymore about the solos. I found out a few years later that the ED sent his son to a gifted school because he thought he was not getting his gifted needs met. From what I understand, he was kicked out of the gifted school and then sent to a different public school. Apparently, he wasn't gifted at all but very much used to getting his way and acting out whenever he wanted. Thank you. Next. So this happened a while ago in a small town in the middle of nowhere. It's a community-built network of mountain bike trails that the community helps maintain and build more trails to ride on for our enjoyment. The trails started in my cousin's backyard, and before, he was the only one involved, so the trails were very small, but soon, he got many of his neighbors involved to help maintain and build more trails, and it became a decent-sized network of trails. Since it is his private property, he requests people ask before they go on his trails and he lets most people in. One day, we were wanted to ride on a downhill trail with many cool features, things like jumps, logs to hop over, homemade skinny bridge out of wood planks, drops and much more. This particular day, there was a sign planted into the ground on the entrance of the trail saying "Reserved for Karen and her family." At first, we thought this was very entitled and rude, just barging into his property and blocking it off from the owners, but we saw them with shovels and wheelbarrows and realized that they were helping us maintain the trail. Fair enough, it could use some maintenance, so it was kind of them to be helping us without being asked. Little did we know this was the complete opposite. Let's introduce the cast. EM, entitled Mommy K, entitled Kid C, Cousin, OP, me. So we spent the next few hours riding the other trails and finally decided that we should give them some beers for helping us out, so we returned to my cousin's house and grabbed some from the fridge and head back up and go past her sign. We start to go down, but she runs up to us and starts yelling, "EM, hey, why are you going past that sign? It's clearly reserved for Emmy and my angel." C, oh, we just wanted to give you some beers for helping us maintain the trail. EM, it is reserved for Emmy. Get out. C, I own this. You are on my private property. EM, no, this is public. My angel's friends all come here every day. Now this could be true. My cousin has allowed many school children to ride on his trails after school, but C, this is my private property. I do let many people ride my trails as long as they help out sometimes, and I certainly do not remember inviting you. Please leave. EM, well, I did help you with your trails, look. I child-proofed them. She points to the trail and we suddenly realize what she had done. She had flattened out jumps, removed logs, removed the skinny bridge along with everything else that makes a mountain bike trail fun. It's just a slight downhill path. Not to mention how she cut down several trees making it impossible to get hurt. EK was also there, riding down the lame hill with a regular Walmart bike and going back up it with stairs made by breaking the skinny bridge. An entire summer's worth of work turned into an idiot-friendly bike hill with nothing special. C. Excuse me, what the hell have you done? EM. Don't be yelling at me. You are the one WHO build a hazardous merry-go-round. I have no idea what she was saying. C. Yeah, that's the whole point of mountain biking. To do fun things like this, but you, without permission, went on my property and broke things. What is wrong with you? EM. I am making it safe for you. C. Okay, well, I am gonna call the cops. At this point, she realized how dumb she was and decided to back off, never to be seen again. A part of me wanted this to escalate for a better story to tell, but we never ended up calling the cops. It ended up taking several days to get it back to its original-ish form, but it will never be as fun. Thank you. Next. Background. So, I want to become a nurse, and because of that I've been volunteering at an But since COVID, they cancelled the volunteer program for the summer. My grandfather is a recently retired gynecologist that still assists in surgery to help out the newer docs, and both of us don't mind seeing blood. I have a natural stomach for it, I guess. To us, blood and surgery is nothing to cringe over, and he often tells me about the surgeries he's done because he knows I'm interested, and it's a lot of fun. The cast. Me. Well, me. GF. Grandfather. EM. Entitled mother. Anyway, my state is allowing restaurants to open at a shorter capacity, and after my grandfather and I dropped off my school books, school year ended, we decided to grab breakfast. We sat down, and people have to sit at table apart because of COVID. We are at the booth against the wall, closest to the door. There's a mother and her, I'm guessing, 7Y/0-old son 2 booths away, then an elderly couple at the farthest booth. We order, and the topic soon turns to my grandfather's latest surgeries, where he was removing a uterus that had fibroids on it. I like to describe them as large warts. He takes pictures of them. They are allowed as long as the patient's identity is safe, and he does this because he gives lectures and presentations to other doctors and uses them. He starts to show me pictures of the surgeries, phone faced towards the wall, so only we can see, and we quietly discuss it and scroll through the photos. Out food arrives, and we still do this. Remember the 7Y/0 I mentioned? Well, he starts wandering around the store with the mom. EM is just scrolling on her phone. Before I continue, I want to mention that the surgery my grandfather is showing me pictures of is an open surgery, so there is a lot of blood and cut up bits. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's just a lot in these photos. Well, the kid wanders over to our table and asks us what we are looking at. I smile at him. I'm not wearing a mask since I'm eating, and tell him it's nothing he should worry about. He just steps closer and asks again. My grandfather says it's nothing he would be interested in, but this just annoys the kid even further. Since I'm holding the phone, face towards the wall, he climbs on the booth with me and tries grabbing the phone out of my hand, but I just pass it over to my grandfather. The kid gets off and is now climbing onto the seat with my grandfather, but he turns it off and puts it in his back pocket. This kid's face is red, but he just huffs and storms back to EM. Thinking this is the end of it, we get back to eating in the pictures. All of a sudden, the EM is storming towards and slams a hand on the table, startling us both. EM, why are you not allowing my son to see your phone? Me, Mom, it's none of his business what's on it, and he probably doesn't want to see the pictures. EM, well, if they are just pictures, he can see them. The one waiter is looking at her. GF, no, they aren't suited for children. They are pictures from a surgery, and can be pretty gross to some people, especially kids. EM, they can't be that bad if you guys are eating, and besides, surgeries are done by robots, so it can't be that bad. The waiter is asking if she can go back to her booth. She ignores him. At this point, her son climbs the booth next to us and gets so close to my face, I turn towards the kid to tell him to get away. She uses this to then grab the phone out of my hand, grab her son out of the booth, and flips over my GF's phone and she goes white. I won't go into details about the picture, but it was quite bloody and a lot of fibroids were huge and showing. She drops the phone and yells, "What is wrong with you people?" Me, annoyed at this point. "You took my grandfather's phone after we told you it was none of your business. If you saw something you didn't like, then maybe you should have listened to the warning." The waiter walks over and sternly tells EM and her son to go back to her table, and finally they do. The waiter apologizes, and we leave a few minutes later. During that time, I can feel EM drilling holes in the back of my head. TL/doctor. EM gets upset that I won't show her pictures from a surgery, grabs the phone from me and shows herself and her son, then instantly regrets it. Thank you. Next. When I was 17 I had purchased 10 ounces of silver from my high school art teacher. I believe I paid just under $20 for it. I had shown this to my mom when I came home from school. However, that night my heavy-handed father once again got drunk and beat me up for the last time. He said that my being anti-war was un-American and I needed beating. I left home that night. I took my clothes, a few keepsakes, some books and also the silver. I left quite a few belongings behind in a closet in my room, belongings that my parents refused to let me retrieve in later years. I got most of it back when they died, but things like the first Barbie in its original box and a chatty Cathy doll were gone. But I digress. This was back in 1967. By 1980 I had been married 5 years. My sister had come by to visit and she told me that she had just been to see our mom and dad. She also told me that they were frantically tearing through the closets in my old bedroom and wouldn't tell her why. I just shrugged at this because our parents were odd to say the least. About 10 minutes after she told me this my mom called me. Mom didn't even say hi when I answered the phone. She just frantically asked me where I had put that silver I had purchased. It took me a while to remember just what silver she was talking about. When I finally remembered I told her that I had made all of that into jewelry over a decade before. This totally pissed her off. She screamed at me to stop lying. She said that they had been looking for that silver all day. I was still puzzled so I asked her why. That is when she told me that the silver price was nearly $50 an ounce at that moment and she knew that I had several ounces of it and I needed to tell her where it was right now. I again told her that it was all gone. I had made rings and pendants with it, had given them away to my friends and even sold some. She then freaked out. All 25 ounces of it? It was 10 ounces and that was 13 years ago. I said. She really came unglued. She said that her and my dad were counting on that $1,200 because my youngest brother needed it for his kids, that I was being selfish. Then she decided that I owed her $1,200 because I didn't leave the silver at her house as I should have done. I reminded her that it wasn't 25 ounces, it was only 10, that I had purchased it with my own money so it had been my property and I owed her, my dad and my brat-assed youngest brother nothing at all. This angered her further. She told me that I will be hearing from their lawyer and then she slammed the phone down. She would have hated cell phones because you can't slam them. I never did hear from her lawyer. At least not the time. In fact I never heard another word about that stupid silver. The price went back down just a day or so later. It had been a weird fluke that had made it soar in price like that anyway. I mean, you can't just go get instant market value for metals like that, can you? I wouldn't think a precious metals broker would want to risk their money on a fluke. I'm sure that her dread lawyer told them this as well as telling her she had no case. If she even talked to him at all. Thank you. Next. My hair was cut short, bob cut, up to my ears. It started when I was 7 and was going on first solo summer camp, solo, with my older sister. For 10 years, my mother bullied me to cut them and never let them grow past my shoulders. It took me years digging my heels in the ground every single time my mother forced me to visit the hairdresser just to get rid of my bangs and let it grow out. My mom always said your hair is weak and thin, you can't let it grow, it will not grow long. I got married and first time my hair grew past my shoulders and I love it. But I was not to last. My hair and my marriage. After divorce I was weak and very sad, and let my mother push me to another visit to a hairdresser. My hair was gone once more, even bangs were back. But I found love of my life, a man who loved me for who I am. My hair started growing. I make one last visit to a hairdresser's just to align the tips. I chose different hairdresser this time. The woman that always cut my hair was my mother friend. She was making my hair look thin every time. The new hairdresser asked, what horrible person did this to you? I move out soon after. My hair are now halfway my back. I curl them. I dye them. I have fun with them. And I love every second of it. On my last visit I asked my mother why she lied to me. At the time my older sister was living with her and was present at this conversation, but stormed out after my question. It turns out she was jealous of me. Her hair was long, and she was afraid that if my hair grow it will be nicer than hers. And my mother bullied me to bob cut, to make her happy. Guess who was the golden child? I will never cut my hair again.